Hello there, and welcome to this long and overdue update on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Today, I'll be sharing information and snippets of the game and constant news updates, from interviews ranging to GameSpot and Eurogamer. We'll be exploring the main aspects of the game's features, the historical background behind it, and overall get up to date with any new information. As you can see, Assassin's Creed, there has been a constant stream of Assassin's Creed Valhalla news, and I want to give the information direct and more in your hands as opposed to regurgitating everything left, right and center. So that's out there. But you know guys, there's a lot of information, so I'll try to go as in much detail as possible. According to an interview with GameSpot, Darby, the game's narrative director, spoke of the following. AC Vahalla is set at the height of the Viking Age. You play as Eivor, a chieftain who leads his people across the ocean from Norway to settle into English lands, to find a new home for his people, as you enter disunited England with warring kingdoms against each other. Darby spoke about the general outline. The time frame is within 870 AD, Norway is in a period of strife, Eivor is driven out of Norway for political reasons that are explored within the game's story. For more historical perspective, during the first couple of scenes that are going to be playing into this game. So, from an historical perspective, Harold succeeds his father, Halfdan the Black. He inherits several small scattered kingdoms from his father's acquisitions through conquest and inheritance. Harold starts his conquest in 866 AD, wins many victories, conquers Värmland, which is Sweden, and parts of Norway, which are sworn allegiance to the Swedish king. Long story short, 872 AD, Harold wins the Battle of Harsford near Stavanger. Please forgive me for my pronunciations. And he becomes king. Most of these Norwegian chieftains who have opposed him then vacate Norway. So Eivor might be one of those chieftains that then vacate Norway, because it's then revealed that Harold also leads an expedition during this time, but I'm not sure how it might work out. So they have not shown us the entire story yet, so that's from my perspective. And this is where, according to Darby, that we find Eivor in this time of chaos. The great heathen army is basically conquering England. England kings are unable to find a proper answer, and Alfred is really the only guy that has that ability to stand up to them. So the amount of historical fictional characters in this game that we will meet. And you know, one of the first things of this article that really grabs the attention is this part. So, this first trailer barely scratches the surface of the game, and indeed how its portrayal of Vikings and various other groups living in Britain will actually look like. Will good old King Alf really be a mustache pantomime villain? No, lead producer Julian Lafare says. And will this game be is going to be immense. Darby was the narrative consultant on Origins and was the main writer in AC Black Flag. Plenty of research therefore has been done beforehand. Ashraf and Darby's relationship, in my opinion, reflects their experience in the industry. And you know that this game is being made by veterans who have had so much experience in this industry. I cannot, their experience is so much that it's like you're getting a game from master craftsmen who are at the top of their trade. So, when talking about the differences in the GameSpot interview between Edward and Eivor, Darby noted, at least on the surface, the two stories are radically different. But the idea of a third-party outsider looking in it is definitely a part. But Edward, of course, his immediate concept was to take advantage of this conflict, get him rich, whereas Eivor is different. Eivor wants to create a new kingdom, a new chiefdom. It's pretty much the same stuff. So, what this means is pretty much Edward had more greed, but Eivor wants more glory. So there's a differences, but there's also a bit of similarity as well, because both leaders want something because both Edward and Eivor want something that they want to attain, and there are a lot of things that's stopping them from doing that. So, Edward started as a pirate and Eivor started as a Viking, and you get to have the sort of the aspects of the Templars and the Assassins. You get to experience this much. He also says that the map will be big, it will be 100% this game, there will not be a moment that is wasted, and all of Origins and Odyssey's connections are going to be built, joined, and weaved into this narrative of a new era. Darby also expressed some new ideas about the way the characters will be written instead of rising to the ranks as shown in previous games. He thinks it's better if a warrior has a reputation, who's older, wiser, more mature. And, Pike almost had a similar aspect, but not too much, because he wasn't an assassin in the first place. But he also said that they didn't want different multiple expressions of evil. So that's the case. As I read through the interview, Darby and Ashraf composed all the feedback they got. They looked at it and they said, alright, let's decide what to do. There are players that want a different style of Assassin's Creed, and there are players that want another style of Assassin's Creed. So they went for the RPG approach, which worked in Origins, but they also went in and took in Odyssey's ideas as well. So Darby says in the interview, where say if you start in MMO, you start in an MMO, you start like Skyrim or Black Desert Online, or you start Elder Scrolls Online. Your character will be a blank slate, or you go into your character is already written for you, like you do in Pillars of Eternity 2, and those type of games where your character already has a distinct personality, and therefore whatever choices you make will then affect the outcome of the story. And I think it's a better decision that they went for this decision. I think it's great. I think it's much better to have a written character. And Darby also noted that they played God of War. He played God of War, and he said that there are very few games made on a Norse culture. I disagree on that, because there's Total War, Ancestors Legacy, Total War Thrones of Britannia, Total War Attila, Charlie Machine DLC. So there's a lot of stuff there as well. He's trying to make Evo more relatable, more someone you can relate with. And one of the things in the interview was there's going to be Roman ruins left 400, 500 years before, remnants of Britannic tribes. You'll also get to see the Saxons, who were pretty much from Germania, and who were almost worshipping the same gods as the Norse, as I believe, before they were converted to Christianity. So you get to see lots and lots of exciting stuff. You'll get to see Stonehenge. You'll get to see forts, fort assaults, that type of stuff. And you will get to explore a lot of mythological aspects. And all I can say is it looks really, really great. And I cannot wait for a game like this. I seriously cannot wait for a game like this. Now, moving on to the GameSpot interview. Begin and end here, the impact of your decisions, pretty much you get the basic idea. The effects of alliances, weddings and forging relationships, the consequences of harsh choice you have to face, and it is also where you'll see some of the game's romances play out, if you want to do that, of course. And LaFerre says that it changes the shape of what they're making. So instead of exploring one territory, then moving on to another and having no real opportunity or reason to return, players need to see the consequences of their actions. And Eurogamer reports that big story arcs will begin and end here. The impact of your decisions, pretty much you get the basic idea. The effects of alliances, weddings and forging relationships, the consequences of harsh choice you have to face, and it is also where you'll see some of the game's romances play out. This paragraph is very interesting, because as you can see, LaFerre points out the fact that in Odyssey, for example, you'd go from one city to another, right? But you wouldn't go back to Sparta, or you wouldn't go back to Kefalonia, or you wouldn't go back to those places, because there wasn't much to do in that sense. So what you're doing here is basically Assassin's Creed 3 Homestead expanded. You will visit a settlement, you go back to your settlement. You will be like Bannerlord, pretty much. You build your own home. Pretty much the settlement is important. It's important in Valhalla, it's important in reminiscence of Skyhold and Normandy, where players return time and time again. And you grow your new village, new buildings, blacksmith, tattoo parlor and barracks. Although I really do hope that there are really more buildings apart from the barracks, apart from your blacksmith and apart from your tattoo parlor. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if you could hire mercenaries from the Byzantine Empire, or hire mercenaries from France, from Germany, from all these places. It would be really cool if you could hire spies and assassins and guilds and all that type of interesting stuff. So it's not just, it's just a barracks, just a blacksmith and just a tattoo parlor by itself. Okay, and so pretty much, you really can't have a Viking game without seeing Scandinavia. That's pretty much clear. And the reason for this is because the DLC, I believe, in my opinion, is going to focus on the, pretty much it will be like the fate of Atlantis. It will be pretty much, like you are going to go into Elysium. So you will be able to go into Yggdrasil. So you will have a lot of that stuff as well, because England is mostly Christian land, and Scandinavia is pretty much the home of the Viking gods. It's the home of Thor, the home of Odin, the home of Tyr, the home of all these gods and goddesses. There's a lot of political pressure, yep, pretty much. And as you go around England, you pretty much meet King Alfred, but as the article says, Lefebvre assures that Alf will be more of a complex character when you meet him in game. He is shown in that villainous way in the trailer, but you'll see there's a lot more nuance to him. So Alfred will not just be the stereotypical villain. He will not just be the stereotypical villain. He'll be that type of guy that it will be like, he'll almost be like like Hatham, almost a bit like Hatham. And you'll see, he will pretty much push back the Norse. But even if he does that, how does it affect that gameplay? Because you'll be playing as Eivor, and say you pretty much, you build your chieftain, your kingdom, whatever you want to call it. But how does that affect the late game though? Do you go back to Norway? How will it affect it? I'm really interested in that. This is going to cover the Viking campaign against Alfred, of course, but let's see what happens. And, I was reading it in another interview where Darby McDermott says, that Eivor is pretty much an older character, and Eivor has to handle a lot of things. But Eivor also has to handle the fact he's old and he wants to get some glory for himself. Almost a bit like Ragnar, but Ragnar was a bit more younger in HBO Vikings. You get. I mean, what Tom Phillips is saying is, you pretty much get the feeling that you're crafting your own version of this hero as the story progresses. Eivor can be played as either male or female, that's pretty much clear. Your choice of gender is part of the customization you get. One thing you should note, even if you play as male or female, the dialogue I believe is going to be the same, in my opinion. You have more customization pretty much. And if you see here beards, tattoos, I won't go on for it much longer. Lafayette says, as will your Viking longboat, and you will get options to customize that. That is pretty much clear. You can dual wield weapons, shields make a return after people complain they were left out of Odyssey. And I fully agree with it, because shields needed to be back in Odyssey. Shields were awesome, and the fact that you couldn't do it in Odyssey, I felt that was not a great sort of aspect. If you had combat, you needed a shield, and this is ancient Greece. The shield was the main focus of your combat. So that's pretty much what I think, in my opinion. So, and why not Diva? So it's pretty much like they used Odyssey's Cassandra way later in the game, as opposed to marketing her in the first place. The marketing is going to showcase that both characters at different points. Okay guys, I think this will be the end of it. As you can see, a lot of information, a lot of direct information out there. I hope that this information has been relevant to you guys, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this game, that you've enjoyed this video, you've enjoyed this information, and I sincerely hope that it's just that you will have so much fun playing this, as I'm going to have. I'm going to be doing a Let's Play series of it. I'm going to have immense fun in this game, and I know for certain this game is going to be awesome at launch, and